I am seeing the occasional spent casing flying forward, but it's locking open and everything seems to be working. The magazines are actually pretty easy to load. And as long as you do that little trick, flipping them upside down like that, that first round's going to sit in the proper position for feeding. So, really don't have to worry too much about that with that little hack. Let's see how far they can sit down. You can sit down really, really far. And that's the 10th round, but you'll see it sitting down really low. And now it's not. All right. More 36 grain stuff. All right, got our first malfunction. And you can see it was just a failure to eject. And either it didn't fire or didn't lock open. I'm going to go with not locking open. So possibly as the gun gets dirtier or heats up, it will start to have problems with 36 grain stuff. Let's try some more. I did lubricate the gun, put some break-free, or breakthrough clean, I'm sorry, there's grease on it, so that stuff will stay on there forever. Don't have to worry about it running off like oil. All right. Yeah, that round's sitting down there kind of low. Do the trick. Everything's just fine. Failure to feed. I've seen this before. Wow, that's getting uglier by the second. There's that round sitting nose down. So I've seen that first round feeding failure before. My last range session, it happened quite often. Now I'm not going to readjust that top round. I'm going to let it sit however it wants to sit when I start off on the first magazine this time. All right, that's 10 rounds, not gonna mess with it. Only reason I'm messing with it is because 22 Plinkster is having problems with that first round nose diving. So let's see if that actually happens with me. All right, so you can see that's how they're setting. Part of the feed ramp's on the nose of the bullet, on the nose of the magazine, or that little lip right there. So, fed it just fine without doing the trick. Again, fed just fine. And no issues. So I'm not really seeing a major issue with the rounds nosediving if you don't try to orient or reorient that top round as of yet. All right, that's 10. All right, so there you can see this one's sticking up a little bit more. This one's nose down, so we'll load this one first. And chambered just fine. Another failure with the 36 grain. All right. All right. I suspect there's a spent case in there. Yep. Did not eject. All right, so we've seen similar failures like that with the 38 grain stuff as well. So I'm going to go ahead and say that top round being nose up isn't absolutely critical to feed, at least with the ammunition that I'm using. And these bullets aren't exactly round nose either. They have kind of a blunt nose to them. But even setting like that, it should feed just fine. I could see that possibly being a problem, but that's very easy to avoid by simply flicking the magazine loader tab. Just do that, and it typically pops the round up just fine, at least far enough to feed. Failure to feed. 36 grain stuff. And that was a spent case that didn't eject. All right. So the lighter weight bullets definitely have the occasional issue. Now we have some CCI mini mags. Now these definitely have a rounded nose to the bullet. They're not blunt nosed like the 36 grain ammo. 10 rounds. Looks like that's going to feed just fine. 10 more out here. These seem to orient themselves nicely in the magazine. I'm not having to flick the follower tab. All right. I think both of those are going to feed just fine. Let's try out the mini mags. All right. It's kind of funny. Even with 22s, you can tell the power difference. And there was a failure to feed. I didn't flick the magazine. Round was sitting normally as it would naturally set. And it jammed that round into the barrel hood. So let's see if I can fix it. Sometimes I get lucky. And I don't think this is going to be one of those times. Ah, got it in there. All right. And then we had a failure to feed there. And that's not jamming it into the barrel hood. That's just like the slide partly overrode the round in the magazine and didn't get behind the rim. Let's go ahead and set that round back in there. All right, nice nose up attitude. The gun's throwing the spent cases everywhere, absolutely everywhere. But the mini mags have definitely more recoil, more boom there. But we're having feeding issues. All right, so there you can see how it's sitting in the magazine. All right, so you can see it kind of setting nose down there. Flick it a little bit, that nose kind of comes up a bit. All right. 20 more rounds of the mini mags. And failure to feed. That's going to be a problem, guys. That's with 3 different ammo types. I've had that happen, and that's not with me not even causing the round to point upward. I'm just letting the round naturally set in the magazine, and those types of failures are all too common. There it is again. We'll go ahead and reseat it. Okay, and bullet nose is a little boogered up, but let's see if it feeds it this time. So for the sake of practice, I'm going to say that this gun's going to be, at least this particular one, not that great of a practice handgun unless you like practicing clearing malfunctions. That first round feeding, or failing to feed, is going to be a problem. That's going to drive me and pretty much other owners nuts. Because as a training aid, you're not used to your Glock 19 failing to feed that first round. All right. I don't know if the gun's just getting dirty, but it's not that dirty inside. I'll take it apart, but when I first fired those first 60 rounds, I had no real issues with the 40 grain federal standard velocity. And now I'm having these failures to feed that first round out of the magazine. And these are ball type rounds. Shooting a nice little group down there at 20 yards. Can't complain about that. Sights are dead on right out of the box. Maybe it's a user issue with that first round failure to feed. If that's the case, Glock needs to have some reloading tips. I don't know what I'm doing wrong if it's user error. If you carry these around in a Glock 19 magazine pouch, the mags that is, that might cause an issue when you're practicing your reloads. That first round's position, is that critical to proper feeding on the first round? All right, 10 rounds. All right. Much better. Much better. All right, we have 2 more magazines we can load. And we'll call it quits for today. Yeah, we'll just leave it. And the last 10. What we're not seeing with the mini mags is a failure to extract and eject like we were seeing with the lighter bullet weights. Well, we'll see how that feeds. I'm not going to mess with it. That's how it Use that magazine first. Yep, so that may actually play a role. That nose being just a little bit down, and that's just the way it's going to land. If you put it into a magazine pouch that even touches that bullet, it's going to push it down into that nose down position, which is ever so slight, and that seems to cause that failure to feed. Go ahead and put that round back in the magazine. Huh. I don't know if that's a dimple, like it tried to hit the edge, or if that's just carbon. That could be a problem. I've seen some of these go off out of battery. That might be why they're not feeding properly. All right, so at the mini mags, the only issue we ran into was that first round feeding. And that seems to be something that I see with all bullet types so far. All right, that's it for now.